is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the KindaFunny Xcast, your home for all things Xbox here at KindaFunny. Of course, I'm one of your hosts, Snowbike Mike, and I'm always joined by my two gaming dads, but this week it's a little bit different. Only one gaming dad this week, Mr. Gary Witta. We had some juggling of some schedules, some last minute shifting and flexing, but we're all good because, of course, I have Barrett Courtney, our producer, to fill in at the last moment. So thank you, Barrett, for joining us. How are you today?
Doing well. Always, always down to flex with you, Mike. Always ready to jump in. Can't quite fill the shoes of one Paris Lily, but I can try my darndest to have a fun time with y'all.
I appreciate you joining us and be a part of it. Of course, my one gaming dad this week, Mr. Gary Witta, the rogue one. Gary, what's good? How are you this week?
One of the benefits of me having ADHD, Mike, and generally just not being engaged or paying attention, as you know, as frequent viewers, especially of the KindaFunny Games Daily Show, will know. I mean, it's very, very rarely has any benefits at all. It's a massive pain in the ass. But this week, so there was a bit of back and forth this week where you had an interview lined in the Slack channel. You were like, "Oh, Gary, we've got an interview lined up this week, so you can step out, if you're not available, and just." Not be on the show this week. And I was like, yeah, fine. And then it was like, oh, the interview's dropped out. Can you come back in at the last minute? I was like, I didn't pay attention to any of that. So I just assumed I was on all week. Like, so when I came on this morning, when I dropped in, oh, thanks for coming in last minute. I'm like, last minute? Don't we do a show every Friday? And Mike was like, yeah, but there was that whole thing where you weren't on and then we asked you to come back. And I'm like, I don't remember any of that, but
never happened.
The struggle is real. I was actually diagnosed with ADHD several years ago, and it's a massive hassle. And like the whole oh sorry Greg, I was miles away. Like people that became a meme and that was funny, but like it's a real thing. I genuinely have a really hard time like staying engaged and staying in the moment. And like I'll be listening to you as you're talking, but I'm not hearing a fucking word you're saying. I'm like miles. Like literally, I'm like just away with the pixies. It's a real thing. When I did the test with a psychiatrist gave me a test that you do with a laptop, and there's a whole thing where you have to like hit the space bar every time you see a letter of the alphabet except the letter X is like they have a different test now, but when I did it, it was that. And you do it for like 5-10 minutes. And at the end, like you get the doctor like looked at this. I can just tell you right away, not only do you have ADHD, you really, really have it. And so it's been a thing. I take medication for it now, and it's a thing. But a lot of people say, "Oh, like Gary doesn't look like he's focused, or like, Gary looks bored, or whatever." Like sometimes I am bored, especially if Greg's co-hosting. But other times,
that's why you were miles away that one Games Daily.
That, like I said, that miles away thing, which became a meme and a lot of people got a laugh out of, was I remember specifically when that happened. Like Greg was talking to me, but like at some point, I think everyone experiences ADHD differently. But for me, the way I experience it is, you're talking to me and I'm listening, or at least I appear to be listening. But what I'm hearing is the teacher from Peanuts. Wah, 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 wah. And then Greg's like, so what do you think about this highly controversial issue, Gary? And I'm like, oh, fuck, I didn't hear a word he just said. He was talking for like 2 minutes. And so the only thing I could do was like, just own it. And like, hopefully people will find it funny. But it's a real thing. Like, it's a real issue. I have to really consciously make an effort to like stay engaged with you and listen to you. Otherwise I just drift. And it's like, it's not that I don't give a shit or I'm like lazy or don't care what you're saying. It's just the thing. Like I can't keep centered. It's like Joy-Con drift for your brain. Like if I don't keep correcting it and staying on target, I'm gonna drift. Barrett, you're nodding like you know what I'm talking about. Do you have any of this?
I have not been diagnosed, but everything that you're saying is things that I feel like I relate to a lot. Even in your explanation, I did start to drift a little bit. And
there you go. See,
yeah. So
it's happening as we
speak. I at least in like growing up in school and stuff like that was never a thing that like my parents felt the need that I needed to be tested for. So, but that is like definitely something as an adult I feel like I experience a lot. So
I had it ever since I was a kid. My mother used to say about me, it goes in one ear and out the other. And that's honestly how it feels sometimes.
All right. Well, you know what, Gary? I'm really happy to have you. I love when you're always around, and I'm thankful we have Barrett. This week, it will be my goal to keep you both engaged in the conversation because we got a great KindaFunny Xcast on the way. We now have the official release date for Season 2 of Halo Infinite multiplayer and some really cool details that you don't want to miss out on, some cool quality of life changes coming your way. We also are going to talk Unreal Engine 5 and the Coalition showing off a very cool tech test that you definitely want to check out, and so much more, because this is the Kind of Funny Xcast. We post each and every Saturday at 6 a.m. West Coast, Best Coast time on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames, roosterteeth.com, and of course on podcast services around the globe. Don't forget, if you're listening on your favorite podcast service, do me a favor, give us a rating, give us a 5-star over on Apple iTunes, or if you're listening over on Spotify, they just introduced a rating system. So please let us know what you think of the podcast while you're giving it a listen. Also, we are now Epic Games partners, which means if you are buying a new look in Fortnite, or if you're upgrading your look over in Fall Guys, please use our Epic Creator Code anytime you make a purchase there. It's no additional cost to you, and you can use our Epic Creator Code at checkout, Kinda Funny, each and every time to help support the team in a brand new way. And speaking of support, of course, it's the month of April, and we always want to give a big shout out to our Patreon producers. So thank you to Gordon McGuire, Fargo Brady, Pranksky, Dan Golden Spider B, Tyler Ross, Delaney Twinning, First Responder ND, Julian the Gluten Free Gamer, James Hastings, and Casey Andrew. Also, shout out to the live chat right now that is watching, thanks to patreon.com/kindoffunnygames. Support over on the Patreon tiers. You can watch a number of our shows recorded live and be part of the live chat and having some fun engaging with Gary, Barrett, and myself. This week, the Kind of Funny Xcast is sponsored by Chime, DoorDash, and Babbel. But myself and the team will tell you all about that in just a little bit. Guys, let's jump into it. And to keep you engaged, keep you talking, we have a fun viewer question coming in right now from Twitter. Tracking Shot Sam writes a question that actually Barrett came up with the same question yesterday to kick off our show. So Tracking Shot Sam writes, what's a franchise that deserves the Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga treatment? Of course, Gary and Barrett, this past week, we've all been enjoying a fun Lego game. Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga is now out. And I want to build off of that question. I not only want to know what franchise/IP do you think deserves the cool Lego treatment, but also what's a fun Xbox franchise that you might throw in the mix? Now, Barrett, I know you're loving Lego right now, but I gotta get Gary engaged right off the rip. So Gary, I'm gonna come to you. You've seen a lot of franchises, a lot of cool IPs throughout your entire life. What would you give the Lego treatment to?
I'm trying to think. First of all, when I saw the incredible off the charts reviews that new Skywalker Saga game is getting, because it seems like everyone's absolutely. I saw a thing today said not only the best Lego game ever made, but one of the best Star Wars games ever made, which is quite high praise indeed. I'm gonna have to check it out this weekend. I installed it a couple of days ago. My first thought was, who has that in our fantasy draft? Did someone grab that? Because that's going to be a big
Janet,
point scorer.
I think has that.
Who has it?
Up, and I'm looking at it right now. Yeah. She received 12 points, so only an 82 on OpenCritic. So we didn't get too punished for that one right there. But she continues.
I'm surprised it's that low, because all the reviews have been like 5 stars, haven't they? They've been incredible reviews. I don't know why it's averaging out at 82.
5. Yeah, 80 a little low than what I thought, but
maybe the ones I saw were like just on the were higher end and not necessarily typical of the whole reviews. But no, so it's interesting, right? Because Lego, both in terms of the actual sets, the bricks that they'll sell you. I was just looking at some Lego stuff in Target earlier today, and the video games. They're already kind of the master of all the big franchises, right? They've got Marvel. They've got DC. They've done great games in both the Marvel and the DC universes. They've got Star Wars. They've got Indiana Jones. They've got Harry Potter. Like, you name it. Like, if it's a massive, massive franchise, they don't have it. So 2 thoughts. One was, I was actually thinking because somebody said best Lego game ever made in this review. I was like, really? Better than Lego City Undercover? Because for me, that's the best Lego game ever made.
A lot of people love that one.
And it made me think, man, why I don't know. Let me ask you this. Did either of you play Lego City Undercover all the way to the very end?
Never touched it.
Because it is incredible. And the third act of that game is absolutely off the charts fucking nuts. Like, you start off, it's a typical kind of like, he's a cop in the big city, kind of a Dirty Harry, kind of, renegade cop, like, chasing a serial, villain kind of thing. And it's all very tropey and all very like, it's a cop thriller, right? Let me just tell you, I put your earmuffs on if you don't want any spoilers. By the end, you are plummeting to Earth in a massive space station that is breaking apart as you're trying to get off of it. It is absolutely insane, and it goes to the craziest places. And I remember feeling like I never felt more exhilarated than the third act of like Lego City Undercover, because
Oh,
you keep
okay.
thinking like it can't get any more crazy than this, right? Fighting giant mechs, and like it just keeps piling on and piling on. This is this is my kind of stealth video game recommendation for anyone out there who's looking for something to play. Like maybe it's on special. It's got to be cheap right now. It's been out forever. Get Lego City Undercover. It is so much fun. It is my personal favorite Lego game of all time, and I love the Lego games. So Lego City Undercover is on another level. If you remember, it first came out for the Wii U, and no one paid
Yes,
attention to
Yeah,
it
yeah.
because it
yes.
was very specific to the Wii U tablet features, and like nobody cared about that shit. And it kind of got, I think, it was a bit of a victim of the fact that no one really cared about a game on the Wii U at that point. But then they brought it out for the last generation. They brought it out for like Xbox One, PlayStation 4. That's when I played it, and I just absolutely fell in love with it. Really, really, really good game. Do not sleep on Lego City Undercover. So my thought was like, please, will they please just do Lego City Undercover 2? I would love to see a
Ooh,
sequel to Lego
okay.
City Undercover 2. And then I guess the only one I can think of that they've never really kind of gone big time on, if at all, both in terms of the physical sets and the games, is Star Trek. What about Lego Star Trek?
That would be
And
good.
Star
Ooh,
Trek is back
okay.
like never before. What is it, like 5 Star Trek shows on the air right now? They're making another movie. Star Trek is like more in production and more like back than it's ever been. So I don't know. I kind of feel like you could have a lot of fun with some Lego Star Trek stuff.
I like
Um,
that, Gary. I like
yeah,
that.
that's my thinking.
How about an Xbox franchise? In all your years with Xbox, what would be an Xbox franchise you'd slap on the Lego tree?
I mean, Lego Halo seems like you could have some fun with that, right?
Oh, I think you'd have a lot of fun with that. You know, I believe they've teamed up with Mega Blocks or yeah, something like
Yeah, so
that.
that's the thing. I
You can
remember it was
correct
like
me
one
if
of
I'm
those
wrong, but like
knockoff
yeah,
Lego things. Yeah,
but it
Mega
still
Bricks
would
or
be
whatever it's
cool
called.
in the Lego universe to see Halo, Master Chief, the elites, all of the different universe pieces like crumbling and falling apart. I think that would be really dope,
Would
Gary. I
actually
like
be
that
an
one.
opportunity for you to do a different kind of Halo game that could still be very story centric. You know, the beauty of the
Yeah.
Lego games, and I think that one of the reasons why people enjoy them so much, especially in terms of like Star Wars, right, is they just lean so much into the comedy, right? Everything is
Mhm.
fun, and they have a and one of the, I remember playing the previous round of Lego Star Wars games, and I love that they always come up with a really fun way to kind of reimagine every scene for comedy, right? It's all the famous scenes you remember from the movies, but they're all like, well, what if this were just like an all out comedy? What would the same scene look like? And they
Yeah.
always do such a good job of reimagining the story as like, what if Star Wars were a comedy? I think it's brilliant. That's one of the creative wins of that entire series. So I think I think it'd be really interesting. I think you could have a lot of fun, like literally like a lot of comedic type fun with the Halo universe, and have Master Chief go off to different planets. And I don't know, it just feels like it just feels like it would be an easy fit.
I like that, Gary. And I was actually, you got me thinking in my mind. You know what would be the perfect fit was that Halo Spartan Assault game that they had back in the day that I believe was like a top down twin stick shooter. I could see that just becoming Lego and it would be a ton of fun. So, a good recommendation there. Now, Barrett, it's your turn. And I know you love these Lego games. You've been having a ton of fun with the Lego Skywalker saga. What would you do with a franchise?
Yeah, Gary, you're making a great point of like the comedy and stuff like that, and something that I think makes Lego special, not just with the video games, but like the Lego movie, right? The reason why those were so good is that like you really feel like it's a child almost telling the story, like a child coming up with the story that's being told, especially in the Lego movie, because that is like kind of a core part of what that story is. And playing through the Skywalker saga, it really does feel like that, like the energy of like this 8-year-old kid with his Star Wars Lego sets, like retelling the movies through their eyes, and getting the big beats, but also being goofy and being very kid like, which is I think part of the magic of Lego stories that they tell, whether it's through Star Wars or like the Marvel games that we've gotten. And so like it for me, it's like what would be a fun story for like a kid to retell almost. Um, we were talking about on PS I Love You this week of like I want an Avatar The Last Airbender game where you play as an Earthbender, but like give me an Avatar The Last Airbender where it's like retelling like the Aang story and the Korra story, where you get like kind of the hubs of like the like you do in Skywalker Saga, where you get to go explore, but then you have like these main missions. I think that could be really fun. Mike, you and I both love One Piece. I would just like love to
Oh
like
yeah.
be on like a Lego ship just sailing around and stuff like that. Like I think that would
Yes.
be really like a really fun universe to do that for. Keeping with like the space stuff, right, with Skywalker Saga. I also go to like Cowboy Bebop because that is such a serious story. I think it'd be really fun to like retell that in a very like goofy way. So yeah, those are the ones that like come to mind immediately of some franchises I would love to see as a Lego game specifically.
I like that. I know Paris would love Cowboy Bebop. He'd jump right on you
Yeah.
and tell you that would be a fun combo.
And
You
then
know,
with the
yeah.
Xbox franchise, I was thinking about this. You know, I know it's a new Xbox franchise because they purchased it. I think with the same wavelength of Cowboy Bebop being so serious, I think it would be fun to like have a Fallout Lego game.
Oh,
Just
okay. Okay.
like retell like either like Fallout 3 or Fallout New Vegas with Legos and stuff like that, or just like a new story, but in the Fallout universe, I think would be fun.
I like that recommendation. Gary and Barrett, I thought long and hard about this. And over on the Twitterverse, we saw people throw out like Elden Ring or Dark Souls and make it like super hard and really fun to play. And then I thought, you know what, you two? I'm actually lucky because I get my wish. My wish would be a Lego sports game. I think of how cute and
Yeah.
creative that would be with the fans and the stadiums. And of course, the gameplay of like, I think of soccer, which is going to be one of the games we get of like slide tackling Gary's Lego character and that character just falling apart and splitting in
And
half
that's
and
like the
its hands
2K
fall off.
partnership that they're doing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I'm into this Lego sports idea, right? I think of soccer and football could be fun. But another one that came to my mind was skateboarding. I think Tony Hawk would be really
Ooh.
cool with that. It almost becomes kind of like a tech deck situation meets Lego and Tony Hawk with combos and grinds and jumps and spins. I think that would be a ton of fun. So I'd love to see a
Yeah.
little more extreme sports with like skateboarding and Lego
I
maybe
like
come together.
I like the idea of a range of Lego games that just reimagine classic video games. Like in terms
Oh
of the
yeah.
Halo thing, you wouldn't. I mean, you could just remake the first Halo, right? The first
Yeah.
level would be like fighting aboard the ship with the Covenant trying to get aboard. Like I can close my eyes and imagine what the Lego, knowing what the Lego kind of gameplay basic construct is. I can imagine like any moment from like the first Halo game reimagined as like a Lego level.
Yeah, that would be dope. And Gary, for mine, I thought of Halo like you, but then I took it up a notch to Gears of War. And I think Gears of War would be so cool Lego style because if I Lancer chainsaw one of the Locust Horde members in half and it just like shoots little red Lego pellets up in the air as if the gore, I think that would be so
I
much
don't know
fun.
if you
It'd be
get
a
the gore, but
blast.
you'd get a visual gag of like,
Let me.
you know,
I
like
want to.
he
I want to
tries to
ask
go for
you.
a chainsaw and it's like a rubber duck or something like that, you know?
I want to ask you both a more general Lego game related question because I've played a bunch of these Lego games and Leah and I have played them a lot because one of the appeals for the two of us is the co-op factor, right? It's fun to play
Yes.
together in these
Yes.
games and they always nail how well that works, especially when the two of you have to work together to solve a puzzle. There's two types of Lego player. There's the person who hoovers up every stud, and then there's the person who doesn't feel like they need to do that. Which one are you?
Barrett, you want to go first?
And this is like why it's like things like this where I feel like I do have some sort of like ADHD that I don't have diagnosed, where it's like I'm both, and it's like I'm constantly fighting between both, where I'm like, oh man, I need to get like in the Skywalker saga, right? They call it True Jedi to like
Right.
get a certain amount of studs, right? But at the same, like I'm battling in myself of like I need to do this, but I also just want to get through the story missions, and it's just like I don't need to do it. So it's a constant battle, and I think the way that I've been able to compartmentalize it, I played through the original trilogy, kind of fighting that battle. I just started the prequel trilogy today, and I think what I'm just gonna do is like I'm just gonna play through the stories, just play through the single player missions, and then there's a free play mode where you can go back and like go collect everything and like replay missions. And I think I'll try to save like the full breaking everything to get every stud for that after I roll credits on everything.
My wife is a big like got to get every stud person. Like
Oh,
not just hoovering up every stud, just bashing everything to like make studs, but also like the more like on track game stuff, like finding all the hidden studs, like the red studs and the blue studs, the ones that are worth a lot. I remember she played the Lego Indiana Jones trilogy, which is another good one, by the way.
Yeah, that is a fun
And
one.
she got so many studs that she unlocks the thing at the end where it's literally just raining studs constantly, and literally studs falling from the sky everywhere you go. Inside a building doesn't matter. Everywhere you go, studs are just infinite studs are constantly running, and you collect them on they all add to your score, and you can just there's no limit to the number of studs that you can get. I remember that was fun when it just started raining studs endlessly. I was like, man, you got a lot of studs.
You got the studs. Yeah, for me, Gary, I've turned that part of my brain off after so many years. I'm thinking back to you. What was that game? Just Cause. Was the one? What was the one with Terry Crews? What was that game called? I'm forgetting the name.
That was
of it.
Crackdown.
Crackdown. I'm thinking of you, Crackdown, and all the orbs, right? Like I've turned my brain off after several years of trying to get everything now, Gary, where it's just like I'm a man on a mission. We got to get this done. I'm not doing this anymore because I know I'll lose track of time and it will be over for me. But
It's actually a problem when
great.
Leah and I play co-op games when you're kind of like joined by an invisible rope, right? The screen won't expand that much or whatever, or even when you're playing on split screen or two different systems. I'm always like, I want to move forward. Like, come on, like the critical path's clearly this way. And my wife's like, no, hold on, there's a little nook over here where we haven't checked to see if there might be a secret. And like, I guess that's the better way to play, right? Because you'll find all the stuff. But like, I skip a lot of things because I just want to. I don't need to check every corner. I don't need to look under every rock. But my wife is one of those guys because there are definitely gamers like that, right? They have to look under every rock, and she's one of them.
Yeah, the biggest travesty of this game right now, because it is a great game, don't get me wrong, is the missing online element of online co-op. It is
Yeah.
really, really
Oh, they don't
sad.
have that?
They do not, Gary, and
Yeah.
it's a tough one there. And it actually reminds me of for you Xbox players out there, Gary, you'll remember, and of course, Barrett, you were running the show when we talked about Battletoads, right? And Battletoads coming
Yeah.
out and not having that online capability is a big miss there, and it's odd because we've seen a number of Lego games in the past show that they can do online, and then this one in
I was
particular,
gonna
they
say,
chose
like,
not
Wait,
to do that,
I
which is
don't-
very
you got to
odd.
ask why, right? I mean, I can't imagine any technical reason why they couldn't do it. It's got to be a choice that they didn't
Yeah.
implement it. What I can't think what that would
Have
be.
Lego games had online co-op
I
in the
believe-
past?
I
don't-
believe they have, but we can double check that.
I
We can
don't-
discuss
I'm actually
know
not
if
sure if
they
they have or not because I've always just done
Yeah.
couch co-op.
because it's one of those things where it's like I don't know if they ever have. It's always been local co-op from what I
Really?
understood, and I
One of the
I
things
feel
that-
like they just doubled down on that, and it's probably a decision they made early on because they've been making this game
Wow.
forever, right? And I think the
You're right.
way that we have been playing games, at least in the last couple of years, like at home trying to play online with everybody because of the pandemic, right? Like I wonder if it was one of those things where they thought about it, but it was too late in development to like really like get it out on like launch day or whatever. I wouldn't be surprised if they're maybe trying to look into it for an update, but yeah, it was one of those things of like, man, I would love to be playing this with like Mikey.
Yeah,
or
I mean, see,
something
it
like
kind of
that.
seems like a no-brainer. I'm puzzled to learn that they don't have it.
You're right, Barrett. I looked it up. So no online support at all for those. That is alarming and wild, especially in the day and age we live in now. So we'll see if they do that. But guys, let's talk about a game that's all about online. Of course, Halo Infinite multiplayer. We got season 2 on the way. We now have an official release date for season 2. We were treated with a nice little teaser trailer today during this weekend, if you're listening. And of course, we have some details that Halo players definitely want to know about. But of course, we're taking a look at the teaser trailer. If you're watching over on YouTube, if you're listening on podcast services, you've seen it already. About a minute and a half of Halo goodness, I believe, or probably less than that. It's pretty tight. It's 26 seconds. But Gary, we now have the official date. Season
was it-
2 starts May 3rd, right around the corner, less than a month away.
Yep.
We got to see the two new maps. Of course, we have our arena map, Catalyst, and our BTB map, Breaker. A little couple of pieces of that. We get to see some armor on display. A lot of people are freeze framing and taking a look at one of those shoulder pads. That's actually a Covenant Elite skull, which is pretty badass looking. Gary, what does this teaser trailer and date do for you? Does it get you excited again for Halo Infinite?
I don't know. Maybe I do kind of miss it. I mean, I think I told you the last time that I was really, really, really hardcore engaged with a game, like we get to that point where even when you're not playing it, you're thinking about it and when you can next play it. And like I was getting out of bed early in the morning to sneak in an hour any chance I had to play. That was Halo Infinite. I was really, really into it. And then at some point, I was kind of like, done with Halo. Like I just reached the point where I just wasn't playing anymore. I don't know what if it was to do with the lack of variety in the maps. I remember thinking not like, oh, this map again or whatever, when it would pop. It's something about it. I was really into it, and then I just wasn't. And I feel like that was a story for a lot of people. And we've talked about it, me and Paris on the show several times before, that it's been an interesting kind of roller coaster ride since the launch of the game. Came out of the gate, everybody loved it, right? Like, it was free, it worked really well. Again, we have a low bar these days. Just the fact that it was functioning and you can connect to a game easily and you could play.
And the fact that
was
the
like, oh my
shadow
god,
drops helped as well. Like, that was
yeah,
a big
and
surprise.
it's available today. Like, they got a lot of goodwill. That first week, there was a bit, like, I would say the first month, there was a big honeymoon period where everyone was just really, really digging it. Like, just the basics, right? They nailed the basics, the feel of the guns, the sounds, the movement. Like, it was just fun to play. It was really addictive, and I really, really enjoyed playing it. And then I guess the only thing that kind of took the shine off of that was people weren't thrilled about the battle pass, and the progression felt really slow, and the rewards weren't especially exciting. And they've been working on that. But then again, just in general, it seems like since then it's just been the excitement about Halo Infinite. And I'm not like a hardcore member of the community, but someone who's kind of like adjacent to it and from the outside looking in, it just seems like the general level of excitement has been just kind of waning. And I guess the big question is, I look at that 26-second trailer, and I read, about the new maps, and I guess I don't know. The big question is this new season gonna give Halo Infinite the kick in the pants it apparently needs? Is it gonna regenerate and rekindle excitement? I don't know. What do you guys think?
That's the big question, Gary. I think the lack of more maps than just two as of right now is probably the biggest question on a lot of Halo players' minds. I think what they're looking for is more content. And actually, it's really cool because I'm going to tell you about some quality of life changes that are coming on the way that they detailed in their latest blog post. And I think a lot of Halo players will be excited for. But as we always talk about, content is king, right? And I think these quality of life changes are great and they got me excited, right? But then when I look back and I go, oh, I'm just going to get two maps and how many modes, then I get a little less excited here, Gary. But let me tell you about that in just a moment because I want to stick on this trailer for just 1 second. We do have a viewer question coming in from Shinobi 3005 that writes, with season 2 getting a reveal trailer, what's everybody's thoughts on this? Barrett, I want to kick it to you because you're a man who's seen a lot of reveal trailers working at IGN and now at KindaFunny. What does a reveal trailer, a teaser trailer at this point for what we see here, what does this do for you? Does this cause excitement for you as a non-Super Halo fan? And do you think this gets the community buzzing?
For me, it's maybe so like people who have been more into the Halo multiplayer recently and are tired of seeing the same old maps and stuff like that. Like being able to see glimpses of the new stuff is probably exciting. This doesn't really do anything for me. This is like, yeah, this looks like Halo that I played 5 months ago. Like, yeah, that's cool. Like, I don't know if that's really gonna bring me back in. Like looking at this and stuff like that, like none of the new maps or things where I'm like, oh god, I gotta check this out or anything like that. But granted, I am more of like the casual Halo multiplayer guy, right? Like Halo 3 was my big like multiplayer game for the Halo franchise, and didn't really touch it again until Infinite. So this doesn't really do anything for me, and like the big question I have is like, I feel like season 2 has got to be the big like proving ground for Halo Infinite of like, this is our live service, like we're updating this, we're giving you this multiplayer game that y'all are going to want to talk about and play for years. And like talking about this game and like people playing this game has been dwindling, I feel like, over the last few months. So I feel like they really got to step it up and like prove themselves at the launch of season 2 and really show of like, you are going to want to come back once every few months and stuff like that. If they don't hit it right, especially in this current ecosystem of multiplayer games where you have like Fortnite and Apex Legends and all of these other games that are constantly updating, constantly giving you new things and stuff like that, you're constantly hearing from them. I start to have a little bit of doubt of like if Halo Infinite can really stay in that conversation on a continuous level, or if this is just going to kind of like even go below like Destiny 2 level, like like fan base conversations, right? Like it's gonna have a little bit of its like audience that sticks around, but nothing really that like brings a majority of the people back, right?
Yeah, Barrett, I actually like that, and I'll piggyback off of that because you got me thinking. Yeah, season two is a big pivotal moment here. Of course, we're coming hot off of a long, extended season one. Halo players are looking for that new content. They're looking for how 343 will elevate this and get us all back. But also, this is going to be like primetime summer months, right? We're talking kids out of school. We're talking summer, kind of the lack of gaming, waiting for those next fall and winter releases, right? And I really think that season two, especially season three, are going to be kind of the proving ground for 343 and what they bring to the game, not only multiplayer, but of course, over at single player with co op campaign and onward. But like,
Right.
you got to be already looking down the way. Fall's coming, which means a new Call of Duty is coming. And that's going to be your direct competition here, which is going to be a big deal
Well,
here at the end of the
isn't
year.
this year the year that they're not doing a Call of Duty? I forget if that was that franchise or not. Where Call of
I
Duty
thought it was next
next
year.
year.
So I
Okay,
think
okay,
this
okay.
year should be Modern Warfare, if I am to be correct. But either way, my worry is if we have a light summer, it's going to be an even bigger uphill battle in the fall and
Yeah.
into
I mean,
holiday to
if you
try to
have the
battle
light
that.
summer, like it is primed to like get a good amount of attention if they can keep up the momentum in season 2 going into season 3. I don't know when. I'm not going to pretend of like knowing when that starts, if that is fall or whatever. Of like constantly keeping that conversation going, keeping it in people's minds, especially in, like you're saying, like school's about to be out in May, late May, right? And so the season starts a little like a couple weeks before that. Like get another push right at the beginning of summertime for kids to come in on Game Pass and play this free to play multiplayer game, right? And battle a little bit against the attention of Fortnite, which just got its no build mode, which I know is like very big and stuff. And I know that they're probably going to keep updating and giving us like new content throughout Fortnite season and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting because there's no new releases. It could have a pretty good summer, but with the other free to play games that are more battle royale focused, like how does it fight to keep in that conversation?
Gary
My
would
question,
yeah,
sorry,
go Gary.
I was
No,
gonna say
go for it.
my question to you, Mike, from that 26-second video. I
Mhm.
know that the press release outlaid a bunch of stuff about new maps and quality. I do want to hear about the quality of life stuff,
Yeah.
by the way, because even though that's not always the sexiest stuff, I actually think that's sometimes the most important stuff is the quality of
Mhm.
life improvements, the stuff that just affects the way you play every time you log in and play. And and any game that you name, I can think of like something. Oh, we should just tweak that little thing and just make it a little bit easier to do this or that. All those little quality of life improvements, they do add up. But my question is, so I looked at that 20-second clip of footage, that trailer, and I'm like, 'cause I have an untrained eye. Like, I played a bunch of Halo Infinite, but I'm not like a Halo expert who's played every game multiplayer. And I'm like, yep, that's Halo. When you looked at that with more of a trained, kind of seasoned, Halo player's eye, is there anything in that 26 seconds that's suggestive of something new and exciting, or is it just kind of like a bunch of Halo footage, just like a bunch of people playing Halo?
I think the Halo footage itself in the 26 seconds is just more Halo, as you put it, right? I don't think there's anything that, jumps out that screams, oh, this is going to be new and exciting. To me, what I look for right at that beginning is that opening cinematic. We've talked about building kind of this, story within the multiplayer that will be shared amongst the Halo Infinite lore and story, right? And so that got me excited seeing that opening. But then as we got into it, right, I smiled because it's more Halo, right? But also, I think what feeds into that is now you start to speculate and think in your mind, well, we've had rumors of what is Certain Affinity doing? Are they making a battle royale, right? What is this new mode in BTB, Last Spartan Standing, right? Did we see a glimpse of that where it looks like there's multiple different Spartans with no outline, maybe like a free for all type style? And that's what gets me excited, Gary, is more of like the, hey, we've heard so many rumors and speculation. Am I seeing pieces of that right now? And then I think the capper that a lot of people are enjoying is, hey, look at some of these new pieces of armor. The Lone Wolves tagline, right? Look at that elite skull on that guy's arm. Is that going to be a cool look for me and my crew? But to me, right, 26 seconds isn't enough to really sell us. I'm sure we'll see a little bit more, but it was just in line with what I wanted, but I need more for sure to get hyped. But you know what gave me more, Gary, was the big blog post. And that's what I wanted to detail with you and the gang here and make sure Halo fans out there heard it because, 343 does an outrageous job at giving some incredible blog posts over on the Halo Waypoint site, but they're massive, Gary. They're a lot to chew on. They're a lot to get through. And I know that a lot of just average fans will see the trailer and that will be about it, right? But there is some really cool details in this that a lot of players should know. So this is actually part 2 of a 2-part blog called the Season 1 Outcomes Report. So this is kind of what they learned from Season 1. This is the kind of stuff that they'll be bringing in to Season 2 and beyond. And so they talked about a couple of different things. They talked cosmetics, they talked the shop, they talked the evolution of different events and what you can expect. But here's a couple of the big notes that I got excited for as a Halo fan, and I think people had questions and want to see. So let's start off with customization, Gary, something that you and I have talked about. So the question came up. There's a couple of pieces here I'll read off. Players want to be able to customize content across different cores, cross-core customization, they've titled it. The answer, enabling customization across different armor cores has been the largest point of feedback when it comes to customization. We agree that there is room to have better customization by lifting core restrictions where possible, but for right now, we're pursuing options that will allow players to use certain customization items on different cores. Due to the way the core system was initially built, getting items to work on various cores will take time, may not even be possible for all items, and will likely require us to do it piece by piece. In short, our goal is that we will be incrementally moving to a model that has coatings and visors working across all cores, with helmets and chest gear working across cannon cores as our first focus changes making the system. So, Gary, that was a big one, right? You had the really cool samurai core. You had all of these awesome Spartan coatings on the other cores, but you weren't allowed to use any of them. So you just kind of had a plain
Yeah,
samurai
I
core.
used to play with a regular squad, and I remember some of my friends were really annoyed about, like, they had bought a really cool armor set, like an armor core, but then other cosmetics that they wanted, they found out later that they weren't compatible. They couldn't get the look or the particular combination of armor and core that they wanted. So I'm not surprised that there was a lot of people that complained about that. I think it was a symptom of a bigger issue, which was just that the customization and the progression and the battle pass rewards, whether through grinding or even buying stuff in the store, where the more interesting stuff was, it just wasn't that great. Like, it was it seemed really hard, whether you were willing to pay money or not, to come up with a look for your character that really felt kind of bespoke and different. And, oh wow, look at that guy, right? They all just kind of like vaguely different, but like none of them really popped off or stood. There was a couple, but you get like the flaming, skull helmet and stuff like that. But that was like a couple of things at the very end of the progression tree. It just felt like it was a lot of Spartans running around that looked almost exactly like each other. Like, there could be a guy with level 90 armor running around next to a guy with like starter armor, and you wouldn't be able to tell much of a difference. I'm hoping they'll be addressing that as well. Just sexier, cooler, more custom looks for your Spartan.
Yeah, I think this is a big one for the Halo fans out there, especially early on when we were going into the store and buying armor coatings and different stuff, and it wouldn't work on all the different armors, right? You might be into one core or not into the other core, and that the paint jobs didn't cross over to each core, which was a big question mark there. So I'm glad to know that they've taken that in. They're going to try to fix that. It reminds me of Fortnite, right, Barrett, to get you involved, of like, now in Fortnite, you could have one skin with a different backpack and a different glider and a different pickaxe, right? Like, I love being able to put on and mix and match different pieces. And so
Yeah,
when we had that, it was
didn't
it was very disappointing.
I didn't know that you couldn't, like, I didn't mess around with the customization enough to even know that you couldn't mix around with those cores. So that's wild. It took them that long to really,
I would get
like, adjust
annoyed
that.
because
Yeah.
it's just the system was annoying, because like I'd unlock a level in the battle pass and it'd say, hey, congratulations, you've unlocked this cool helmet. And I'm like, well, why can't I equip it? It's because I was rocking the wrong core.
You're rocking
It's
the wrong
really
chords, right?
annoying.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
that's wild to me.
shout out to the team for elevating that. And here's a big one, Gary, for me in particular. As you know, I got really deep into the HCS and I bought a number of team skins, right? I was really pumped up
And
to
those were cool.
represent the
Those
Space
esports
Station
skins, they look
Gaming
good.
kit and all that, right? And so here's one for you. Players want items that make up a kit to be able to be used individually. So their answer to this, similar to the point above, Players who unlocked a kit, e.g., Noble Team Spartans and HCS team kits, wanted to be able to use the individual items within that kit with other customization content to create unique combinations. Kits were meant to give players the feeling of becoming a character, Noble Team, or wearing a team's uniform, esports, but we understand the desire to use a kit specific item in other customization combination. In the future update, we'll be changing the kit system so that we will allow players to sport individual items from their kits to use on their own personal Spartans. So this is the big one for me, Gary, right? I was rocking that Space Station Gaming black and yellow, right? I was loving repping the team, but there was a certain number of things I couldn't do, right? I couldn't put on the cat ears. I couldn't have the cool pineapple grenade on my chest, right? Like you couldn't elevate that skin. And I totally get where they're coming from, right? Of like, hey, we wanted to be that character on Noble Team, or we wanted you to rock the esports look, right? But I think as you progress and I start dumping money into the store, or I unlock things off the battle pass, I wanted to still rep the team, but I wanted my Spartan to look cool and unique and be my own, right? And so that led me halfway through the season to drop the cool Space Station Gaming look and not rep the esports team anymore and go off on my own path because I couldn't wear those items. So this is a big one for me to keep in mind because I really like that, right? And I think that also goes to like what we'll see with the Lone Wolves, right? Who are those dedicated Spartans and what are their looks? Are we going to be able to mix and match just like Noble Team? So
I
a
think
nice win right here for that one.
this has got to be a really high priority item for them, not just in terms of addressing what sounds like the most common request, but also this is how they make their money, right? Is selling items and customization. People really care about how their character looks, and they love having bespoke items and being able to say like no one else has an outfit or a look exactly like mine because I've crafted it. I've got a piece from here, a piece from there. Whether it be, I mean, the CS:GO still makes millions doing this, right? People pay a fortune for Counter-Strike items and bespoke looks and gold guns and stuff that only they have and they can kind of show off and feel good about having acquired. And a lot of people are willing to spend real money to do that. And given, especially considering the multiplayer game is free, all of their monetization strategy is rolled up in being able to offer customization options and items that people want. So actually, it does. Looking back on it, it seems kind of crazy that they would have had a system that locks you into certain trees and certain paths and really limits the amount of customization you can do. That seems to be probably the most valuable lesson that they will have learned in terms of not just giving players what they want, but unlocking the ability for this game to make money. It's almost like, oh, I know you want to give us the money for this thing, but we're not going to let you because it's not compatible with, like, if I walk into a store, right? If I walk into a clothing store and I want to like put a bunch of shit together that like looks absolutely ridiculous, the guy that's helping is not going to say, I'm sorry, I can't let you buy that. It looks ridiculous. It's my money. Let me buy. If I want to walk out the store looking like a fucking doofus, then that's my call. Right. And in fact, a good salesman is going to look at that and go, oh, you know what? On someone else that would look bad, but on you it works. So he's going to tell me what I want to hear.
I mean, I would like the honest salesman though. If the salesman's not going to try to upsell me and be like, this tank top, that doesn't look good on you. Here's some short shorts with that'll definitely pull.
Yeah,
it together.
and now it works.
Be like, hey man, like
you're just going to upsell a little bit.
You don't have the arms for the tank top look, and I'd be like, yes, I understand. Thank you.
You've got to let people buy what they want. I mean, I play. It drives me crazy, but I play with friends who their big thing every time they play a game, whether it be in character customization, the initial character creation, or in the weapons and the armor and the gear, they always want to look as ridiculous as possible.
Oh, yeah.
Right? If you want to look as ridiculous as possible, that's your choice. It's your money. I can understand if Microsoft might want to cultivate a certain kind of aesthetic. Maybe they don't want a bunch of Spartans that look like total clowns running around. But if that's what people want, you got to give it to them.
Oh yeah.
Yep. We love giving people what they want, and we have a lot more details on what's coming up for quality of life improvements. But I want to take a moment, share a word from our sponsors.
For most of us, learning a second language in high school or college wasn't exactly a high point in our academic careers. I took 3 years of French, and guess what? It didn't stick. Now, thanks to Babbel, the language learning app that's sold more than 10 million subscriptions, there's an addictively easy and fun way to learn a new language. Whether you'll be traveling abroad, connecting in a deeper way with family, or just have some free time, Babbel teaches you bite-sized language lessons that you'll actually want to use in the real world. Je parle un peu français, and I was talking to Jen's mom here and there about little things. Mon chapeau, you know what it's about. Other language learning apps use AI for their lesson plans, but Babbel lessons were created by over 100 language experts. With Babbel, you can choose from 14 different languages, including Spanish, French, Italian, and German. Plus, Babbel's speech recognition technology helps you improve your pronunciation and accent. I could use that for English. Start your new language learning journey today with Babbel. Right now, you can save up to 60% off your subscription when you go to babbel.com/kindafunny. That's babbel.com/kindafunny for up to 60% off your subscription. Babbel, language for life. No one likes waiting on a paycheck, especially when you've got bills due. Good thing there's Chime. Now you can get your paycheck up to 2 days early with direct deposit. That's up to 2 more days to save, pay bills, and generally just feel good about your money situation. But Chime is more than just getting paid early. It's also an award-winning mobile app, checking account, debit card, and optional savings account. So what are you waiting for? Hopefully not your paycheck. Get started with Chime today. Applying for a free account takes less than 2 minutes. Get started at chime.com/kfgames. That's chime.com/kfgames. Banking services and debit card provided by the Bancorp Bank and Stride Bank NA, members FDIC. Early access to direct deposit funds depend on the payer. You got back-to-back meetings, errands to run, and chores to take care of. What's the secret to clearing your to-do list? A little help from DoorDash. You can get dinner, household essentials, and everything on your grocery list delivered. I'm gonna pause the ad and tell you, ladies and gentlemen, how do I know so much about DoorDash? I used it this morning. I woke up, I had to get the house ready. I had this guy coming to work on the garage. I had the nanny coming over. We had no clean bottles. I cleaned the bottles and everything. And I was like, I'm hungry and I need coffee and I don't have time to make either. I DoorDashed Jen and I some breakfast today and it was great. When I was sick last week, I DoorDashed Gatorade because I wasn't about to go out. DoorDash is great. Back to what they wrote. Ordering is easy and your items will be left safely outside your door when you choose contactless delivery drop-off. For a limited time, our listeners can get 25% off and 0 delivery fees on their first order of $15 or more when you download the DoorDash app and enter the code KindaFunny. That's 25% off up to a $10 value and 0 delivery fees on your first order when you download the DoorDash app in the App Store and enter the code KindaFunny. Don't forget, that's code KindaFunny for 25% off your first order with DoorDash, subject to change, terms apply.
Now, Mike,
All right,
really
guys.
quick, you know, we're talking about, you know, all of these people in Halo Infinite looking the way they want. And
Yep.
like, we don't really need to talk about this a lot because you already talked about the show last week, but I just need like a really quick hit of like, what do you think of Master Chief's booty cheeks? Like, what are we going on?
Ooh, Gary Whitta, Master Chief has shedded the armor. He was butt naked in the last episode of Halo
Oh
Infinite.
wow! So not just the helmet off. Now you get to see the other helmet too.
Kids are calling him Master Cheeks, okay? Because we got a lot of ass in that episode. But you know what, Barrett? I don't want to get too sidetracked.
Halo reaching for them cheeks, you know what I'm saying?
Because I will talk about that in a little bit, but let's keep it going right now. Gary, another big one you talked about was the battle pass and earned rewards, right? People like free stuff too, along with buying stuff. So the question went out to the 343 team. The question was desire for more and higher level customization content through free methods. So here's their answer. Season 2 will improve on the free experience by slowly removing armor core limitations to enable more customization options with those free items, something we just talked about, having better customization items as weekly ultimate rewards, and having even more customization content in event passes and the free track of the battle pass. So they heard that. They're going to elevate that. Also, remember, if you buy the battle pass, you will earn enough credits throughout that battle pass that you'll be able to buy the next battle pass with the credits you earn, and they also never expire. So you got a cool one right there. But on the free rewards, Gary, let's talk about that. People love free stuff. Are you happy to hear that they're going to elevate these kind of cosmetics and items that you will earn for free?
I mean, I'm happy, but I mean, more. I guess more to the point. I think I and a lot of people would have been furious if they hadn't addressed this, right? Because it was the thing that was most apparent from like day one. And you remember, it was the first thing they had to fix, right? They instantly kind of gave you more XP per round because people were complaining day one. It's like, man, like there's grinding and then there's grinding. Like, you would play a really long, hard fought match, and that in itself is its own reward, right? The whole point is the game shouldn't be a chore. The game is fun to play, but you also want to feel rewarded when you're done. And when that Battle Pass XP inches up like a couple of pixels on your screen, you don't really feel like you've been very well rewarded. And again, I know they responded to that and they did increase the progression, but again, it was even after the improvement, it felt very, very slow. I know they did bonus XP. I like that new feature they brought in where, you would get like extra XP and it would kind of, each subsequent match that you played, it would kind of be a little bit less until it kind of leveled off. I thought that was a good improvement. But again, the biggest issue was just like, I would have this, like, it was the same story every time. I would go, boom, congratulations, you leveled up. You get that little kind of euphoria hit. And then it would say, look what you've unlocked. And I go, oh, what is it? And it's like, oh, that's it? Like, it's just like a little gray armor piece that I can barely even see on my armor. That was the issue. It's just the rewards were not very good. So, I mean, here's the thing, right? This is all about a new season. And a new season means new battle pass, which, if you want to make progression through, you're going to be expected. You don't have to, but, just like the first one, if you want to make real serious progress, you've got to pay, to unlock all the best benefits. Again, that's how they monetize the game. You get the game for free, but, you pay for the battle pass. This has now become a fairly standard monetization model for all of these big season pass based games. Those are the two boxes they got to check. You've got to feel like you're getting decent rewards for your progression, both in terms of the XP. Like, that feels like I feel like I've leveled up enough based on the match that I just played. And then when you actually unlock stuff, you want it to be stuff you're excited about, and not just, if you know what it reminds me of, when you used to go to like the arcade and you'd play skee ball or whatever and get like 1 million tickets. And go to the then go to the redemption
Mike was
counter.
the kid. Mike's definitely the kid up front who was just dropping the balls into the circle,
But the point is, you get this fat wad of tickets. You get excited about what you're gonna get, and you get a fucking pencil eraser, right? The shit that's any good is like
it's the coolest pencil eraser ever.
And that was the thing, is I was tired of Halo Infinite. Give me a fucking pencil eraser every time. You want the shit that's up on the top shelf. Every now and again, at least give me something good.
They're going to give you some top shelf stuff, Gary. And also, they're going to give you what you want, Gary. And I think this is the biggest one that we heard with the release of Halo Infinite, and really what was just the Battle Pass level. So here's some cool quality of life improvements that are going to be on the way. The question was desire for a career progression system separate from the Battle Pass. The answer, a career progression system is in the design phase right now. We want to nail it out of the gates, and that's going to take some time. So this, Gary, is the big one. I think this is the one we heard the most of. I want to level. I want to level up some way that's not just the Battle Pass. I want to have that career progression, that level next to my name that says I'm level 22, 44, 155, that I'm continuing to get that.
Oh, so something that would actually persist, like season to season.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. Instead of just your Battle Pass level, Gary, right? And of course, what the details are, we'll find out. But this is something that players really wanted, instead of, oh, I'm just tied to my Battle Pass level. And then on top of that, Gary, they also, along with that, the question was award per match XP that takes performance into account. We talked about this, you and I, in the game.
Yeah, they need that. That was a big one. Yeah.
The answer is, additionally, we know there's a desire for per match, which also or XP per match, which also leverages performance to plug into the system, as well as the Battle Pass. Per match XP is on the way and will land this year. So that was the big one, Gary. Is like, you could only level up to completing challenges, and everybody hated that. Then they were like, okay, we figured it out. If you play X amount of matches, we'll give you XP every single match, right? And they're like, okay, that's close, but I still want to be judged essentially off of my performance. Right. I want more XP because I just dominated, you know what I mean? And so looks like two big things here are, in the works, which is the big thing for Halo fans. What do you think about that?
I mean, it was always strange we've talked about this so many times. It was always strange that, Halo is, for the most part, almost entirely a team game, right? Especially in a big team battle, like you are all supposed to be working together to complete the objective, whether it's capture the flag or, even something as simple as Slayer, where, it's first to 100 kills or whatever it might be. You're all supposed to be working towards a team objective. But a lot of the time that was undermined by this weird design choice where a lot of the ways that you would level up would just be about completing these selfish personal objectives, like get a certain number of kills with a particular kind of weapon, or do this or that, and things that were like things that didn't necessarily help the team win the game. So I think anything that recalibrates the reward system towards the team winning and working as a team rather than going off and achieving, and rather than just wondering. I would see it all the time. Players, I'm like, what the hell are you even doing, dude? Like, we're trying to win the game. He's off doing he's off like trying to grind some personal objective. It's not helping the team. And it was always just something as simple as like, shouldn't I get more XP if I'm on the winning team than on the losing team? Like something as simple as that. Like, shouldn't everyone, even if I got carried, like I'm still on the winning team. Like, give me more XP for that. There was a lot of head scratching in this stuff.
I could see where they're coming from, because again, of like trying to battle against the kind of concept, or not against, but trying to take ideas from games like Fortnite, right? Where it's like, you get a good amount of XP if you're doing well, if you win the battle royale, but then they also have these side objectives, but they never like made it one or the other in Fortnite. Where it's like, unfortunately, I think Halo Infinite was like, they tried a little too hard pushing of like, let's have it be alternate objectives, so there are people out there who can play and have a fun time but not feel like they're not gaining a lot by not performing well, which is like a very, I think, accessible thing for something like Fortnite, where you have like Joey and Kevin. Like sometimes they're locked in and they're looking to get some wins, but sometimes they're like, hey, I just want to like grind out some things. But at the other side of it, like a lot of Fortnite is like solo play and stuff like that, where the way Halo is designed, it is more of like, you've got 4 people, you've got a quick objective to do. You guys need to be coordinating, and if one person's off doing their own thing, like that all falls apart really quickly. So I think in like having that leveling system in the modes that Halo has available to it, it just something did not connect there, and I'm surprised that it came with the launch.
Also, Mike, is kind of related to this. I don't know. Did they say anything about ranked games? Because I'm not a particularly high level player. I think the last time I was playing, I was like alternating between like silver 6 and gold 1, so like very kind of mid tier. But I have players who I have friends who play like diamond and onyx level, like really hardcore players, and they complain constantly about the ranking system and how like they'll feel like they'll do really well in a game, and their rank might actually go down or stay the same, or they'll do really poorly. And just a general sense that like how your rank is affected is kind of weirdly untethered from how you actually did in the game. And it's very opaque. No one quite understands how what other kind of algorithmic stuff's going on in the background. Like there's no transparency. So when people go, wait, I thought I did really well, why did my rank barely move? Or I did quite poorly there, or my team got their asses handed. Why did my rank go up? It often seemed really, really counterintuitive. So I don't know if they're either recalibrating that, or there's going to be more transparency about how ranked games work. But I know that there are high level ranked players, because I know some of them that really, really don't like the ranking system right now.
Yeah, actually, Gary, it's funny you bring that up, because there is a big blog post about that. Actually, a couple months ago, Uni and the team came out with a lot more transparency and clarity of what goes into your rank. What are the factors of you going up and down? And they actually reset the ranks as well for everyone. So that happened a couple of months ago. And so hopefully that has kind of
so I'm not even gold 1
community
anymore? What a ripoff.
I think, Gary, if you turned yourself back on, you're probably looking at the restart.
Do you know how many games I had to get carried in and had to cheese to get that rank, and now I don't even have it anymore?
Gary, when you're in the mood, you and I will jump back in and we'll go get some ranked up, is right. But some really cool stuff. Let's keep it moving on the things that Xbox gamers should know about. And of course, you should always know about the future and the cool stuff that's coming your way, because Unreal Engine 5 is now available to everyone. We had a really cool Unreal State of Unreal keynote for 2022, and of course some of your favorite Xbox teams were on showcase there, but mainly it was the Coalition back again to show off a brand new visual tech test named The Cavern, Gary Whitta, and it highlighted the new MetaHumans creator tool, of course the Lumen rendering system for lighting, and then the environmental technologies that have been elevated from UE4 to UE5. We did see the Alpha Point 1 previously at a GDC. Now we've moved on to the Cavern with the team over at the Coalition, and there's some really cool stuff to see what the future of gaming and what it will look like in front of all of our eyes. This is really geared towards developers and creators, but of course, the fans can take a look and be wowed by what they see on screen. And Gary, this is something I want to talk to you about because you've come from the video game world for all these years. You've seen the development of what you can be done on screen for the players. You've seen all of this grow and move. So I want to talk to you about Unreal Engine 5. But here's some fun facts from the coalition, Gary, that everybody should know about. The team has been working with Unreal Engine 5 for over a year now. They talked about their last GDC test, Alpha Point, and what they learned and what they elevated. Of course, we see this new cinematic visual tech test. If you're watching on YouTube, you're seeing it live right now. If you're listening, you should go check it out. They did state that the full studio has been switched over to Unreal Engine 5, and they have really cool things coming for Xbox players. And the big one that they wanted to note was how the team at Epic and developers can use these tools provided to create these truly next generation creations without compromising quality level on even the Xbox Series S. So something really cool, Gary, when we talk about the future of gaming, your Xbox Series S is going to do just that. And that's what it's always been promoted to do. We got out of that. CD Projekt Red will have the new Witcher saga on Unreal Engine 5. We got the new announcement from Crystal Dynamics that there's a brand new Tomb Raider game. And for Xbox fans out there, it was shown that In Exile, Rare, Undead Labs, The Initiative, Double Fine, Ninja Theory, and Obsidian, along with the Coalition, are all teaming up and adopting Unreal Engine 5. So, Gary, what do you think about this tech test? Were you wowed by what you saw on screen?
It's funny. First of all, just to kind of talk about how far we've come. I'm old enough to remember because I worked there at the time. They used back in the mid 90s, there was a magazine called Next Generation. And it was a magazine that specifically kind of dealt with, kind of cutting edge, video games and like high end, like always had an eye on like what was coming next. And the original Unreal Engine, if you recall, was it was used to make a game that was simply called Unreal. That was the first game, right? Even before Unreal Tournament and all the things that came, it was just Unreal, and that was on like I guess Unreal Engine 1.0, whatever it was. And there's a next generation cover that still pops up like years every now and again. You'll see it pop up on Twitter because people kind of laugh at it now, and it really does show how far we've come. It's a screenshot from Unreal, and the cover line, the headline on the front cover of the magazine is something like, "No, your eyes are not deceiving you. This isn't actually a real shot from a video game." And you look at it now, and it looks like total shit. It looks like fucking Minecraft. It's like, what the fuck? Like really? Was there ever a time when we thought that was like the shit? And yeah, again, back that because I remember I was at the time I was like, oh yeah, wow, really, that's really impressive because it was at the time in the same way that Atari 2600 was impressive when it first came out, and now you look at it, you just see blibs and blobs, and now we're like, it makes me think, what are we going to be laughing at Unreal Engine 5 in 20 years because we've moved on to like a whole other level? Where we're going to be going, I think is a fascinating thing to think about, and like just what level of fidelity and immersion are the games that my kids are going to grow up playing, right? I'll be fucking dead, but like the next kids after me, I think are going to be.
You're going to live forever. Sorry to interrupt you.
I'm telling you, I just want to live long enough.
You're our gaming dad.
Put my brain in a jar, plug it into some kind of fucking matrix where the decrepitude of my body doesn't matter anymore, and I will be all good. But so to answer your question, so I did watch that Cavern thing. I got to be honest with you. So clearly, look, Unreal Engine 5, incredible. Right. And it's no surprise to me that all these developers, expensive though it may be to use it, it's not cheap to use it. Developers are all kind of jumping on it because they see the technology, they see what it can do. There's also kind of stuff that isn't sexy for us, but really, really useful for developers. Like Unreal Engine is like, it's like if you buy a Ford or a Toyota, you can always get parts for it, right? There's going to be good service. You're never going to have to worry about like tech support, or there's always someone from Epic or their tech support department that will help developers if they need resources or tips or whatever. It's just there's so many reasons why building a game on the Unreal Engine makes sense for developers. Some of which are very obvious to us when we play it. Wow, it looks amazing, great performance, and some of which is just to do with like kind of the development workflow and the stuff that's happening under the hood, and it's easier for developers to work with. So it's no surprise at all that this is going to be, I think, probably the dominant kind of tech foundation for high-end games going into the future. And Matrix Awakens showed that to me. My jaw was on the floor looking at Matrix Awakens. I thought that was the first thing that I'd seen. Well, we were basically a year into the PlayStation 5 and the and the Series X, and the games have been looking good, right? But I remember thinking, like, for 6 months to a year, it's like there wasn't any. I looked at Forza. You look at Forza 5, you look at Halo Infinite, and I'm thinking, like, this looks good, but does it really? Am I really looking at this thinking, there's no way this could run on an Xbox One? It's just impossible. Not really. No, I mean, they look a bit better, but not night and day better. Matrix Awakens was the first thing that I saw. Was like, okay, now this is pod racing. This is fucking next gen. This is the shit. I was really, especially that sequence when you were shooting out the back of the car and the agents are jumping around. It looks incredible. And then the free roam stuff, really, really amazing. The cavern to me, was not on. It looked really, really good.
Wow. Okay.
It looked really good. The facial stuff was really good. The lighting was really good. But I wasn't looking, and I'm sure there's stuff going on. I'm sure a developer could say to me, no. You see that particle effect? You couldn't do that on an Xbox One or a PlayStation 4. I'm sure that's true. But I'm just looking at what effect is it having on me? I wasn't blown away the way I was blown away by Matrix Awakens.
It's also hard to translate, like, to compare it with, like, watching a video on YouTube and then, like, you know, being able to actually play the Matrix in the engine on your
for sure, yeah,
PS5 and Series X and stuff like that. And I'm kind of with you, Gary, where it's like, this doesn't really do, like, this reminds me of, like, when I think it was, like, when PS5 had its first reveal and there was, like, the tech demo of, like, something running on PS5 for the first time, and it's like, yeah, that's cool, you know. I always like, you know, seeing, like, next-gen graphic stuff where it's like, you can always make a really good-looking cliff, you know, like, when you can make a really good detailed cliff, like, yeah, you got a pretty solid engine that you're making here for the future. I'm more excited of, like, what are developers going to be doing with Unreal 5 in like half a decade, right? What weird stuff can they get away with in the engine and, like, really push forward of, like, just, like, almost like game design kind of things, where, you know, something that we've seen with early this generation is almost like Portals, right? With, like, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, with Psychonauts 2 and stuff like that. Like, what's the next step after that to, like, just get really creative and weird? That's more of the thing that, like, I'm more excited of Unreal Engine 5, like, getting in the hands of people now, is, like, that aspect, not really the fidelity stuff, because, like, you're wondering of, like, oh, are we gonna look back at Unreal Engine 5 and laugh at it? It's like, no, like, I really don't understand, like, fidelity wise how we get even any better. Like, it's just like, I feel like we're there. It's just gonna be a matter of, like, upscaling to 8K when 8K TVs become a thing and stuff like that.
I'm glad you brought up Rift Apart, because I want to correct my statement from earlier. I said that prior to Matrix Awakens, I hadn't seen anything that felt truly next gen. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart was that, because it wasn't just about how much better can we make this cliff look. To your point, it was, they obviously sat down and said, here's what the PlayStation 5 can do. How can we build a game that really showcases that? Not just the game looking better, but, like, the ability to, like, I remember the first time I did it, like, and we've all been playing games for years. We know what was and wasn't possible before. When you, like, rift into a completely fucking different environment seamlessly and go back and forth, like, that shit was not, a game's never done that because it couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And now just the way there's kind of memory management and the stuff that PlayStation 5 is doing, where it's just able to hold, like, multiple environments in its memory simultaneously, and you can just seamlessly go back and forth between them, whereas usually you'd be waiting, like, maybe a 10, 15-second load. That was incredible. It was like, okay, that's what's exciting about that felt like next gen, and not just in terms of, like, graphical fidelity, but, like, what are the gaming possibilities? Being able to riff back and forth between different environments seamlessly that this technology allows us to do. That was really exciting.
Guys, it's very exciting. And the future is now, because Unreal Engine 5 is now out for every developer and creator to start to use. But guys, let's keep it moving. Let's get out of this show. I got a quick update for Game Pass for the month of April out right now. You have Cricket 22 on cloud and console. That's an ID at Xbox game. You have MLB The Show on cloud and console, something that me and Barrett have been playing a lot of, because, Gary, it now has co-op where you can play 2v2s and 3v3s.
Oh, cool.
And me and Barrett teamed up to represent some Bay Area teams, and we had a blast.
And I'm just saying, Mike, maybe there might be a guest or two that pop up next time we co-op. Maybe someone tags in for, you know, to play with us for MLB The Show 22 as the Oakland A's, right? You know, we're definitely going to have some fun times with that. And again, I just want to shout out, because I didn't really experience it with last year, because I only had a PS5 code of MLB The Show last year. But being able to have both on PS5 and Xbox Series S, where I'm playing, you know, my franchise league on my big TV, playing through that, and then, you know, when it's like the work time and I gotta be at my desk, you know, making sure things are uploading, but then, you know, upload my franchise save up to the cloud, have my Series S at my desk where I have to pay attention to stuff, download my franchise save, and then boom, it's right there. It's cross console save is just it's the coolest thing.
It's one of my favorite things, and
Okay.
I don't want to sound too privileged here because not everyone's got multiple consoles in their house. But for
Right.
people that do, and honestly, having like a Series X and a Series S in like a secondary room that's not like fucking Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk level shit. Like plenty of people I think can have that setup. Not everyone, but plenty of people do. And for those that do, like you said, the ability to just kind of I've been playing GTA 5, replaying the story, and I've got an Xbox upstairs and downstairs, and sometimes it's more convenient for me to play up and down. I know this isn't a particularly new thing, but it's good. We talked about quality of life that just makes life better and easier. The ability to pick up a save, like I'll have played a game upstairs, and next time a week later I want to play it again downstairs, it'll just find my save and instantly put me back where I was. It's basic stuff, but it still feels a little bit like magic to me, and it just makes our lives that much easier as gamers.
Best. Gary, here's one I want you to keep your eye on if you have a little bit of time. A couple of people have recommended you check out Chinatown Detective Agency, currently on cloud console and PC via the ID at Xbox program. This is a game that you might be into, Gary, so check it out.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of that.
2 coming on the cloud for EA Play, or from EA Play. Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare is coming to cloud thanks to EA Play. And Star Wars Squadrons is coming to cloud thanks to EA Play. Coming up next week, April 12th, you'll have Life is Strange True Colors on cloud console and PC. Panzer Corps 2 on PC thanks to ID at Xbox. The Dungeon of Nabulak, I always mispronounce that. I'll get it one day. On PC thanks to ID at Xbox. And April 14th to end your first half of the month, Lost in Random coming to cloud console and PC thanks to EA Play. And of course, things come in, but things also leave. So here's your update of things leaving the service on April 15th. MLB The Show 21. So if you're still playing last year's and you're tied to it, having some fun, enjoy it, but get ready to jump on the next year or keep playing if you want to buy it. Rain on Your Parade, cloud console and PC. This is the game that Gary and Paris talked about.
Yeah.
This is a must play on the service. Even you, Bear, you're giving the thumbs up to this one?
No, I remember. Paris and
if they are retiring it now's the time, because that doesn't take long to finish. You can probably finish it in one session. Really fun little. It's exactly the kind of game.
A lot of Donut County vibes from.
Donut County vibe.
Absolutely. And when we talk about Game Pass being part of its value being you to get to try and discover games that you might otherwise have overlooked, Rain on Your Parade's a perfect example of that.
The Long Dark console, cloud, PC, Pathway on PC, and then on April 18th, leaving F1 2019 for all you race fans out there. That is your Game Pass update for the month of April to kick off. Barrett.
I've been listening to a lot of podcasts lately, Mike.
Yes.
A lot of podcasts, more so than I would have ever thought, but that's because MLB The Show on constantly in this house, and so I always listen to podcasts while playing. One game that people have been shouting out a lot this week on PC Game Pass, I believe, only on PC, is Norco, which people are saying might be a very high indie game of the year kind of contender. You're someone who's going back to their hometown. It's like the slightly different, slightly futuristic, but like nothing has really changed. But like people have like personal like robots and stuff like that, a little visual novelty, some mysteries going on and stuff like that. Yeah, a lot of people have been shouting out Norco. So if you've got Game Pass Ultimate, maybe check this out on PC. I know that I want to at least check it out for Game of the Year conversation stuff. So
I like that. Let's end the show with a big shout out. And Gary, this one is for you because this is a game that you love. And your team over at Beethoven and Dinosaur won 2 BAFTAs, Gary Whitta, and you have 2 BAFTAs, my friend. So, from the BAFTA Awards 2022, your nominees your winner of Artistic Achievement was Artful Escape. And winner for Audio Achievement was Artful Escape. Gary, you love this game and you love that team. They're now BAFTA winners.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad that it won some BAFTAs, and I wish it had gotten more. But every time, it's like every now and again when it's when you become like a a cheerleader for a game that you don't feel like is getting as much attention as it deserves. Every time it wins something, it almost feels like a bit of a personal victory for you just as a fan. You know, yeah, and then we all feel that way. And Barrett, I know, like you were thrilled when every time Psychonauts 2 won something, you were thrilled.
Yeah, it finally won a story award at GDC is where it won finally.
We've all got our personal game. Like, every now and again, there's like, sometimes it's like a big game. Like come the end of the year, probably I'm sure Elden Ring's going to be cleaning up, and all the Elden Ring fans will go, yeah. But like, that's such a big game, and it almost feels like nailed on for all the Game of the Year awards at the end of the year. I think it should be Kirby. Fuck Elden Ring, but whatever.
I love
Kirby.
that.
Kirby is Elden Ring it's like Kirby is Elden Ring if Elden Ring didn't hate the player. That's the way that I would put it.
Well,
it's Elden Ring for people who don't want to just be abused.
Okay.
And just want to enjoy playing a game.
I don't know. There are some bosses near the end of Kirby that I was having a tough time.
I know it gets pretty wacky towards the end.
It's wild. It's a good game.
Bringing it back.
Kirby's terrific.
Yeah.
But my point being, like, every now and again, there's a God of War or an Elden Ring, as I'm sure
Breath
it will be. But like, it's hoovering up all the awards. And yeah, Breath of the Wild. It's like, it was never in doubt. But it's when those little games that they're really good. I actually felt this way about It Takes Two. I never expected It Takes Two to clean up the way it has been. And the fact that it has feels like such a vindication. I was enjoying that game going, I think this might be one of the best games I've ever played. Like, I felt that like 15, 20 times when I was playing It Takes Two. Just every time I was going, oh my God, this game just keeps piling on how fucking good it is. And I'm so glad that I think would have been a tragedy if that hadn't been recognized to the degree that it has been. And with me, I would love to have seen The Artful Escape get even more recognition than it has. But again, every time it gets an award, especially a big one like a BAFTA, I'm absolutely thrilled for it because I love that game so much.
Yeah, that's really cool. I didn't love the game as much as you did, Gary, but I did enjoy it. And if there's anything that game did really well, it was like the art style and stuff like that. It felt like even a more psychedelic version of like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which I did enjoy.
Yeah, and the music is just incredible. It's just a really, really enjoyable experience.
Yeah.
Guys, I think we kept you engaged throughout the whole entire episode, and I hope that we kept our audience engaged, having some fun listening and watching, no matter where you are around the globe. Thank you for spending your Saturday and your weekend with us. We love being here with each and every one of you, talking all things Xbox, and most importantly, video games, the thing that unites us and brings us all together. So on behalf of my one gaming dad today, Mr. Gary Whitta, and of course our producer, Mr. Barrett Courtney, on the ones and twos, coming in and filling in like a great host like he always is. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. Next week we'll have a very special episode coming your way. We can't wait to see you all there. And for everybody in the live chat right now that supports us over on Patreon, that's watching live, you are going to get treated to a fun post show all about Gary Whitta. So thank you to Cooper, Raleigh, and Kevin Ace X for watching live. Let's go there now. Everybody, have a great weekend. Bye.